create one more variable sum. It is a variable, it holds the value of num1 plus num2. You can take any x, y, z, it doesn't matter. If you take it is x, it's y, you can take anything as a variable. Now if you call this sum function, 3 lines of this is called a block of code under a sum function. Now you are calling this sum function, then what will be happen here? You enter a number, enter one more number, so but you are not getting any result. So here that moment you need to call sum is equal to, you want to see on the display, you need to use the built-in function print. Okay, sum is equal to print, then num1 plus num2. Sum is equal to, if you run this one, you pass a value here, one more value here, you are getting 78, but you are not getting any addition here. 7, 8, just they put beside of each other. So if addition 7 plus 8, 15 you need to get. So that moment what happened here, whatever the value we have passed, that is stored in your num1. So num1 is holding, if you want to see that value stored in num1 variable, you type one more function, type bracket num1. So then what happened, see that this whatever the number you passed, that will be stored as a string, not a see this 7 value you have passed, that is stored as a string, not an integer. That's why here the value stored, if you pass an integer, that will be stored as a string, and here whatever the value you passed, that will be stored as a string, that both the strings will be concatenated as a string, 7 each. But addition we need here. See also, if you same print bracket, if you want to know, type num2, what happened? So if you run this, both will be string. CLS, you run this file, enter a name, number. Now this number is string, it is not integer. One more string you pass, one more number, it is also string. Both are concatenated. Concatenation is what? Concatenation is what? Addition of strings. Concatenation means addition of strings. It's called addition of strings. So addition of strings. So one string, that integer number stored, integer number you have passed, first integer number what? First number 7, it is stored as a string. 9 number integer passed, but is stored as a string. Both strings are concatenated, 7, 9 addition. But we need to get the printout statement, that moment we can use one more inbuilt function. This input function is inbuilt function. Okay, here one more function I will use here, int function. That the function is called type conversion functions. They are called what? Type conversion from one type data to another type. So this function, int function, what it does, it converts one type of data to another type of data. Here this is 7 is you have passed as integer, but it is string type of data. So why? Because input function always returns the string. Okay, if you pass the string, there is no any problem, it returns the string. If you pass integer, it returns the string. If you pass float, it returns string. So that is to be converted by int function. So int function used here, it converts from string to int. Okay, Now if you check this numbers output, you will get as, in place of the string you will get as integer. So here also use int function to convert the one type of data, string type of data to integer type of. Now you run this code, enter a number, okay, 7. Now it is what converted into, initially that 7 you passed as a input integer, input function convert that as a string, but that string will be converted by int function as an integer. So take one more number 5, that will be converted by int function, one type of data converted into another by int function. So now both are 7 plus 5, 12. This is called what? Addition of sum of two numbers. But how many lines of code I have written? This much of code. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 lines of code. This 5 lines of code is called a block of code. Now this will come under a function. So whenever I want to use that function, I want to call that function. So no need to write this line of code again and again. Simply you call this with this sum function, with the sum function. So now in this total line of code, I want to merge as a sum function and know any two different functions. So you do one thing, you remove this line of code, okay. Now you keep this and comment section, okay. Now this total, it comes under add function. How many lines of code? These 4 lines of code, these 5 lines of 9 lines of code come under your add function. That moment simply you call this add function. Now this add function has this much of code. This is called a block of code. So whenever you call that add function, so total line of code, whatever the statements you have written, all will be executed simply by calling this function. This function can be used anywhere. So you clears the screen and you run this file. So it is requesting for what? So what is that first? So function, what is the first print statement? This is x is holding Vasu is printed. Next, this id function, used id function result, it returns the memory location. This len function used it to know how many characters in that string. After this, next compile Java interpreter understood that, so it is next line of code will be executed. This line of code, enter first number, it is requesting for a number. So whenever you pass, so after next line of code, type num1. So this line of code use it to know which type of data it is. It is integer type of data. This variable num variable holds integer type of data. After next line of code will be executed, read by the interpreter and execute that. So that will be second number. If you pass any number, so you enter. Now interpreter understood that it is a integer number. So then finally number sum. So what happened? Try to understand. By calling only name of that function, the total code, block of code executed. So this is called user defined function. Within this user defined function, many I have taken the support help of the many function, print function, id function, len function, input function, int function. I have taken the support of inbuilt functions. Without the support of the inbuilt function, it is not possible to define your user defined functions. Okay. Suppose after that also one more function I am going to write. Suppose if one more function, take any function def, okay, simply write that is what check, okay, this is a method check odd or even. So this method checks that whether the